A year ago, I bought 2 closed terrariums from a supermarket. I decided to leave one as is and to modify the other terrarium so it would more accurately resemble a closed terrarium like I would make it myself. This is what they looked like a year ago. Store-bought on the left, homemade on the right. Now, a year later, not only did they switch positions, but a few things changed inside them as well. With the homemade ecosphere, you'll notice that the elephant ear plant has grown some massive leaves. The moss has grown quite a bit as well. Some of the moss was already there a year ago, but this smaller variety wasn't present as moss yet a year ago. The fern-like plant has grown considerably in a year. It did suffer from a drought in the summer, but it has been recovering nicely. In the last update on this ecosystem, I told you that I thought that the newest leaf would grow to become really big. That didn't really happen. However, this new leaf has already grown much larger than the old new leaf, so we'll see. This is the unmodified store-bought closed terrarium. This plant, which appears to be Coffea arabica or something similar, has grown considerably in a year. This is an even smaller species of moss that is growing in this jar, which is interesting. The other plant that was in the jar has almost completely disappeared. All that's left is a single sad leaf. This jar also contains a nice thick bush of the original moss. So, those are the homemade versus the store-bought terrariums after a year. 2 years ago, I made a native eternal terrarium. After a year, it turned into a brown dead mess. So I decided to open it up, take everything out, and redo the whole thing. The eco revival. Now, 1 year later, it turned into a brown dead mess. Except, there is one big difference. There are 2 spider plants still alive in this closed terrarium. Now you can't see them too well because the glass of the jar is a brown dead mess, but there is still definitely plant life present in this ecosystem. In fact, there's also some of that moss present. But yeah, it isn't exactly pretty. You might remember this jar as the Rainwater Ecosphere. Not that much exciting stuff happened in this ecosphere apart from some algae growing. I know that some of you were disappointed by this project, and I have to agree it wasn't pure rainwater. So I am going to do this project again. Currently I'm waiting until I get a microscope because I think that that'll give us some more interesting results. For now, this ecosphere acts as a very nice lamp. Now here's a project you haven't heard about in quite a long time, the ant colony. Now initially, that was because the ant colony grew very slowly. At one point, there were about 20 worker ants. When I fed them a drop of honey, I could see them forming a little circle around it. But then suddenly all the workers started dying, and then all workers were dead. But the queen survived. I don't remember exactly when this happened, but it was at least half a year ago. I think even a year. All this time the queen survived. I still don't have a clue what happened. It's possible that they died of some sort of parasite, and that the queen was too big to be affected, or maybe a sort of fungal infection, but I find that hard to believe. They always had enough water, humidity and food. In all this time, the queen hasn't eaten a thing. She has kept laying eggs, but none of them seem to have developed into a larva stage. I think this is very weird, and I have never heard of such a thing happening. So if you have any clue what might be going on, please tell me. In other exciting news, you can now purchase your very own Life in Jars merchandise. You can choose from 3 different designs, shirts and hoodies in all different colors and sizes. And of course, patrons get a discount. So, those were a few miscellaneous updates. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.